afternoon. This is Melissa with thestockswoosh.com, and today I wanted to go over with you Vvus, which is the play of the day and the play of the week. Really nice gap. Said last night in the webinar that this was my favorite thing for this morning, and even where it gapped, it didn't even gap down as much as I wanted it to, but I still liked it. I said that I liked it. I watched it this morning, and then it ran down in the morning, and it actually ran down and touched off $11 in the morning this morning, and I still liked it. It did not work as huge as I wanted it to today overall. That being said, the chart is still lower. The big target I wanted on this today was here, was to break 986 was $9. And I thought $10 was realistic really today, but then early in the morning when it started to trade, I realized that it wasn't going to get to $10 today. So I thought $11 was realistic, and then I think I called out a couple numbers for targets: 1088, 1087, 1075, and it did go to 1075. 1075 was the number, was the low today. It's not the day isn't done yet, but I'm out of this thing, and the day closes in like 25 minutes. So this was a beautiful gap, and I really liked it. And I've actually liked this chart lower for quite some time. It's been a nice symbol to trade. I'm familiar with how to trade this stock. It can be whippy at times. It doesn't bother me. And how did this set up in the morning? Well, let's look at it. Oops. Okay. So the beauty about this trade today is that the bars kind of look scraggly. The bars, if you waited for every perfect sell setup in this, you didn't really get any nice entry in this today. In fact, you got a terrible entry. But of course, I don't trade like that. I trade based on the numbers. I trade based on a combination of many different factors and many different things. When I'm looking at rating the gap in the morning specifically, this was the highest rated gap this morning. It rated 22 points. In fact, I didn't even rate anything else this morning because I was so on top of this thing. I did go back then and rate a couple things that ended up working out as well. Nice moves today and some other stuff too. But this was my top watch. It rated 22 points and I loved it. Now, when it opened, I saw it rally. In fact, I had on my sheet that it was okay to rally if it wanted to rally. And the only way I'd be totally off this thing is if it did a reverse swoosh, or if for some reason went up to 1230, 1240-ish. If it did that, I said I wasn't going to like it. I was going to be completely off of it. So I really wanted a maximum level of $12 for this to hold. 1206 was a number that I had written down on the sheet this morning. And wouldn't you know, it went up to 1205. So I called it short right here as soon as it held. It was an incredible entry. Very aggressive. Stop right over here. I put the stop at 12.10 because this morning the spread was sometimes 5 cents. And then the ad was right here at 11.93. Stop still had to be up here for this because it was a little taily, but then it went. Then it went, then it went, then it went. Now, it didn't break under the low. I wasn't concerned about this. You can take some off here, though, into this if it doesn't break right under the low. But I could tell the way this was setting up today, it kind of was going to do a zigzag pattern. I also knew that it was taking some time to get underway. I also noticed that there wasn't panic selling in this today. So that I said somewhere in here, between here and here, this time frame, I said we're not going to get to $10 today. We're not going to break 986. I knew it around this area I just did, and it didn't today. But the chart's still lower. The fact is, there was not the panic in this that I thought that there could be, that there might have been once the selling began. There was selling in this and shorting today. There was both. But the hard selling I wanted to see didn't happen today. It still is going to get where we want it to go in the chart, though, eventually. If you're going to hold it overnight or do it as a core trade, whatever you want to do. You should have been in this as a core trade a long time ago. In fact, here was the entry. I remember doing this. It was back in September. I remember watching it. I remember it failing and never doing it actually because it failed. But here, now I know it wiggled and jiggled up here, but here you could have gotten in it because this was real here. And then look at the drop if it's had since then. 21 bucks. It's lost half its value. Really nice trade. So we will get under here. And it should happen in the next week. And it wasn't crazy to think the stock could run $2.50, $3 today. That wasn't crazy at all. I just knew at some point then this morning, pretty early on too, that it was not acting exactly the way I wanted it to for the hard sell-off. And that's fine. This was in danger of almost being a reverse swoosh. A couple of pennies more would have been completely off of it, but I was fine, which is 40 cents. And the number that it held, I was fine with it. The number was the most important thing with this. The number, The exact number that I'd written on the sheet. Okay. It's not just the whole number. It was the exact number I'd written on the sheet. All right. And it held it. So boom, you're in. So the reality was then you can money manage yourself however you want. Take a little off. It doesn't break in here, although I knew it was going to break. I said $11, and then you hold it down here. You've got to try to piecemeal yourself out in these zigzag positions unless you're going to suffer through every rally until it goes. You got two choices. Either lower your stop every pivot down, or keep the stop at the original stop here and take a little out and keep the whole thing at the original stop. Because you know this thing moves and does tails, and it can do tails. And if you don't put your stop at the right place and you lower it, then you get dinged out and it goes on to work, you're going to be upset. This bar here, though, if you're not, you got to be out of something down in here when it didn't break down to $11 in here before this pop happens. Look, it touched down at 11.16. It actually touched it right in here quickly, and then it had this huge big pop up. There's no guarantee it's going to break down again here. You're 16 cents away from the target. Look at how people got taken out here. People that either stop over here got blown out through this here, or people had the stop over here got blown out through this here. There's just people getting stopped out. This wasn't buying that happened. And then it held itself right a ways down here in an area and went again. I did call another trade in this, a brand new trade that happened on the 5, which had a great risk to reward. I said 29, stop over this base. It should back up again, and after it does this bar like this, the stop has to be here. It's not too tight. It shouldn't do this again or it's not going to work at all. So why not just do it and take the risk and put the stop where it's supposed to be? This actually paid really nice because in this move at 29, it ran all the way here down. So the risk in here for the entry at 29 and the stop at 34, it was 5 cents. 5 cents to run down here. This paid like a 5. This paid 10. This paid 10. 10 R's is paid. And if you held it all the way down in here to the 75 number, it paid even more. That was a really nice call I made in here. But, I mean, at some point you have to get out. This hit the low of the day at 12.50. Hit the low of the day at 12.50. And I don't see another clean play that could have been taken for any momentum or conviction at that point then after this bottoming tail here that happened here at 12.45 in the 15-minute. Yes, I know it ran up here and then it set up again in the 15, but the trade was pretty much over here because by this point, like I said, we know it's not going to get to $10 today. We knew that earlier on. And the market was just kind of dead sideways then by this point too. Now, the chart is nice. The gap is great. It was a perfect entry this morning. I mean, this is the play of the week at this point because the entry was just smack dab on. And I just knew right away the gap was good. I knew it was going to work. And, you know, you look at everything in the way the market traded yesterday and how so many gaps traded and so many symbols traded yesterday into the close. This thing set up so nice and still ran today, even with yesterday with the market. And even with the market acting so sideways today, I mean, the market was lower today, but it wasn't like a solid move down. I mean, it was into the morning actually, and then the retracement. But, you know, this ended up playing out nicely, but only with the numbers, not with the bars. If you just trade using daily sell setups and 5-minute sell setups and 15-minute sell setups and sell setups and sell setups, you're gonna get whipped around like a lollipop. It's just you're gonna get whipped and whipped and whipped. That the best thing you can do is learn how to trade from someone that knows how to read charts like me. Learn how to trade from me because there's so much more to this than just these sell setups. So much more to this that you can learn. That's real good information as well. And a lot of it has to do with the price and the way the chart plays out and the 26 points that I look at when I rate a stock to play. Everyone asks me in the room, I say this is good. It's 22 points. Boom. We're doing it. I said this morning, I said, this is what I'm doing. I said at 8:01, I said, this is what I'm doing. And then I said, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing. And I did it. Boom. I was in there at 9:32, 9:33. I don't remember the time it was when it set up. It was really early. I was in that before 9:35. Beautiful play, beautiful gap. Did everything it was supposed to do except for run really hard today. And that's okay. It will get to that target. Had a beautiful play in it today. I mean, to get $1 in something like this is fantastic. So you got to do what you have to do to get these moves. And the goal is to get the most of the move that you possibly can. The goal is to get the absolute most of the move that you possibly can, 75 to 80% of it. No one's going to get every single penny in a move. That's not realistic. And you shouldn't be trading like that anyways, because you're going to critique yourself to death. Don't do it to yourself. Pat yourself on the back if you traded the short today. This worked out nicely, okay? But it only played out well if you knew the numbers. If you didn't know the numbers, you might have sweated a little bit waiting for it to go. I just knew at a certain point today, though, the way that it was trading, that it wasn't going to fall off a cliff. Although the stock symbol is damaged, and I was very happy that it gapped down last night, and I felt that it would, and it did, and it just gave me a lot of conviction to do it. And that's really what it's about, is a conviction. When you have conviction in something, you just press the button, you take the trade. It's a beautiful thing. So this is Melissa with thestockswoosh.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at melissa@thestockswoosh.com. The next gap class I'm doing, if you want to learn how to rate these gaps, if you want to learn the 26 points that I teach, this was 22, this Vvus, so you know how to trade them in the day, then contact me and you can take my gap class on March 9th and 10th. This is Melissa at thestockswoosh.com. This is the play of the day and play of the week with Vvus. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks and have a great night.